It was a partnership of convenience, a merger of assets personified. Liam and Ethan were, on paper, married. In reality, they were strangers. They had never even met. That changed at a charity gala in a Manhattan high-rise, where Ethan saw him using their supposed relationship as a shield. Liam's voice was low and firm as he addressed a particularly persistent Omega. He apologized, explaining that his partner at home had the senses of a bloodhound and was violently allergic to foreign pheromones. He remarked that getting too close would necessitate a brutal, hours-long scrub down, which would leave him too exhausted to sign the lucrative contract with the Omega's firm. Ethan was stunned. He was about to march over and demand an explanation for this slander when Liam's gaze fell upon him. A frown creased his brow before he took a reflexive step back. Liam's was directed at him now, a cold request for him to respect his personal space. Ethan hated spring. For someone with a pollen allergy as severe as his, it was a season of perpetual congestion and blurred consciousness. Compounded by the onset of his heat, standing upright was a feat of sheer will. He knew he should have been at home, but ambition was a relentless master. Double-masked and layered with 2 suppressant patches, he was the epitome of the modern, career-driven Omega. He could feel the whispers like static in the air, parsing fragments about the reclusive Hawthorne air. People wondered why he was even here when he was already married, suggesting he could just stay home and wait for the money to roll in. He shot a brief glare at the 2 gossips. He was new to this social stratosphere, having just returned to the States, and anyone he didn't recognize by name was irrelevant. He wished he could correct them. It was a business arrangement, a strategic alliance between 2 equals, not a marriage built on affection. He had no husband, only a co-conspirator in a corporate game. If marriage meant becoming the indolent creature they described, then the contract was more terrifying than bankruptcy. As he prepared to confront his so-called partner, Liam's attention suddenly shifted to something behind him. Ethan turned instinctively. His eyes traced the sharp, meticulously tailored shoulder of a suit, the crisp collar of a dress shirt, and the strong line of a jaw that was almost close enough to touch. The figure moved past him without a second glance. Ethan watched, momentarily dazed, as the man signed the guest register at the welcome desk. Liam Sterling, the name that sat next to his own on a legal document. It had been 2 months since their proxies had signed the papers, a period in which they had existed in entirely separate orbits. The arrangement had originally been for his older sister, a free-spirited, S-class Omega who had expressed her dissent by permanently bonding with someone else the day before the signing. The family had called him in as an emergency replacement. Neither he nor Liam had been present. Ethan was at his graduation ceremony overseas, and Liam, for reasons unknown, had also been absent. Now, seeing him for the first time, Ethan felt a flicker of obligation to introduce himself. The opportunity vanished as quickly as it arose. Liam was immediately swarmed by a constellation of Omegas. Even through his thick mask, the combined scent was overwhelming, a cloying cloud of perfume and pheromones. Liam, however, remained a calm island in the center of the storm, deflecting their advances with practiced ease and a disarming composure that spoke of long experience. When the crowd finally thinned, Ethan managed to approach just in time to hear him deliver the rehearsed line about his sensitive, bloodhound-nosed partner. Ethan's mind raced. He wondered if Liam had another partner, but a background check commissioned by his assistant had shown Liam to be impeccably discreet, with no romantic entanglements. That meant the bloodhound was him. It was defamation. The planned greeting morphed into a demand for an apology. As Ethan opened his mouth, Liam turned, their eyes locking in an unexpected collision. Liam's brow furrowed again, and he repeated his earlier admonition for Ethan to keep his distance. For a full 2 seconds, Ethan was completely baffled. Then it hit him. The mask. He pulled it down quickly, but Liam's expression remained unchanged. He remembered the second mask beneath and tore that one off as well. Still nothing. In disbelief, Ethan pointed to his own face and said Liam's name, asking if he truly didn't recognize him. Liam's response was chillingly formal. He acknowledged that he could see him but advised him not to use his looks in such situations. The realization struck Ethan with the force of a physical blow. Liam Sterling had no idea what his own husband looked like. After the initial shock subsided, a strange sense of calm settled over him. It meant Liam was unconcerned with the individual, focused solely on the family name and the strategic advantages the union provided. He was a professional, a perfect business partner. Ethan was sure his expression must have conveyed a flicker of admiration, because Liam's frown deepened. He reacted as if Ethan were some sort of biohazard, raising a hand to cover his nose and taking several large steps backward, his earlier poise completely shattered. Ethan would have given anything to see the look on his face when he learned the truth. But he never got the chance. His smartwatch, connected to a biomonitor on his assistant's phone, began to shriek with an urgent alarm. His pheromone levels were spiking uncontrollably. The 2 suppressant patches were failing. His assistant explained in a hushed, urgent tone that there must be an alpha in the room with an extremely high compatibility match. Even if he couldn't smell it, his body could sense it, rendering the patches useless. 2 emergency injections from his assistant's kit slowly quelled the rising heat within him, but the evening was over. To remain would be a gross violation of etiquette toward the other alphas present. He silently cursed the alpha who was so carelessly broadcasting his pheromones, a stark contrast to his own self-control. Just as he was preparing to leave, a message popped up on his phone. It was Liam. He'd seen Ethan's name on the guest list and was asking if he was there. Ethan stared at the name for a moment before typing a reply, asking if he was looking for him. The response came after a moment of typing. Liam confirmed that he'd hoped to use the gala as an opportunity to finally meet, but a situation had come up, and he had to leave. He mentioned his schedule was packed but suggested they meet at the next family dinner. Surprised, Ethan decided to set aside the fact that Liam wanted to meet and instead offered the polite, socially required question about what had happened and if everything was okay. Took a while for Liam to reply. He said it was nothing major, just that he'd been cornered by an omega with truly nauseating pheromones, which had caused a rather strong physical reaction. He assured Ethan he had gotten away. Ethan felt a nerve in his temple begin to twitch violently. He looked at his assistant, who could only offer a sympathetic blink. It seemed his assistant confirmed that it was exactly as he suspected. That son of a bitch. He had called his pheromones disgusting. His scent was a custom-blended amber accord, sophisticated and utterly unique. And what did he mean by a strong reaction to something disgusting? His assistant helpfully interjected that an S-class alpha could resist most omegas but was powerless against a highly compatible one. They had never bothered with a compatibility test, as producing an heir was never part of their agreement. Pacing back and forth in the private lounge, Ethan seethed. He told his assistant to arrange a meeting with Liam Sterling immediately, to wedge it into his schedule by any means necessary. And he instructed him to do it under the name of the company he founded while studying abroad, making sure not to reveal his true identity. That company, a now-defunct shell corporation, had been a joint venture with his ex-boyfriend, Alex Reed. Since Liam found him so disgusting, he decided he would make him sick with it. It was a week later when he saw Liam again. He looked exhausted, fresh off a long-haul flight. When his assistant informed him of one last business meeting, the motion of loosening his tie paused. He turned to his assistant for confirmation, who stammered that it must have been a scheduling error, but it was too late to cancel as the other party was already waiting. With a sigh of resignation, Liam tightened his tie and strode toward the conference room. Ethan quickly closed the door a little, turning to his own assistant and asking how he had pulled it off. His assistant explained with a sheepish grin that after his initial attempt to hack Liam's calendar was detected, he'd decided on a different approach. Knowing he'd be recognized by Liam's assistant, he'd simply told him that this was a private game between the two partners and that he should play along. Just then, Liam pushed the door open. His eyes landed on Ethan, and his gaze darkened almost imperceptibly. The two assistants exchanged a series of comically bad winks and nods before making a hasty exit, leaving the two of them alone. Liam offered a curt, professional nod and asked if he was Mr. Reed. He requested a moment to review the file, inviting Ethan to sit. The file was ancient, filled with outdated data and messy financials, yet Liam studied it with intense focus. His professional demeanor was a world away from the man at the gala. At certain points, he would pause, his index finger tapping thoughtfully against the paper's edge. Ethan couldn't help but comment that his hands were very sexy, just like the rest of him, and that a wedding ring would look beautiful on him. Liam froze for a second before his face became an emotionless mask. He closed the file. His tone was diplomatic as he stated that while he found the company's business philosophy interesting, its growth prospects were limited. His voice caught abruptly. His Adam's apple bobbed, and his expression hardened. He had noticed, while he had been engrossed in the report, Ethan had discreetly peeled back a corner of his suppressant patch, releasing a slow, steady stream of pheromones into the room. Liam tossed the file onto the table and pressed the intercom, ordering the air purification system to be turned up to maximum. Ethan feigned innocence, asking what was wrong and noting that Liam looked unwell. Liam gave him a long, hard look, his eyes sharp. He declared the meeting over and told him he could leave. Ethan asked if they weren't going to discuss the partnership. Liam replied that he saw no sincerity from his side, and thus there was nothing to discuss. The air purifier was having little effect. Liam's breathing was noticeably heavier, and he tugged irritably at his tie. Ethan, feeling a surge of accomplishment, stood up and moved to the chair beside him. Liam's body went rigid. Ethan leaned in close, his voice a soft whisper by Liam's ear. He wondered aloud if a man as handsome and successful as Liam had a rich romantic history. Liam shot to his feet, the tips of his ears bright red. His eyes filled with undisguised annoyance. He stated flatly that he was married. He said that while it wasn't public knowledge, it shouldn't be a secret. Ethan drew out a long, theatrical O, mentioning that he'd heard it was just a business arrangement, devoid of any real feeling. Liam told him not to concern himself, insisting his relationship with his husband was very good. Husband. The word sounded absurd. Ethan let out a soft scoff and stood as well. As Liam retreated, Ethan advanced, backing him against the wall. His gaze was overtly predatory as he surveyed him. Broad shoulders, narrow waist. His stomach rose and fell with his breathing, wrinkling the shirt tucked beneath his belt. Ethan reached out, intending to smooth the fabric, but his wrist was seized in a powerful grip. Liam's voice was ice, but his skin was fire as he demanded to know what he was doing. Ethan remained unfazed, using his free hand to cover Liam's, his thumb pressing against the frantic pulse point. He couldn't suppress a smile, noting how fast his heart was beating. Before Liam could throw him off, he let go, an innocent curve to his lips. He was just curious, he said, about how good their relationship really was. He asked if his husband ironed his shirts or chose his outfits. Liam's response was unexpected. He said his partner had his own career and that he didn't need him to do those things. Ethan was slightly taken aback. He had expected him to continue the lie. By now, Liam's patience had evaporated. He pulled out his phone and spoke into it, his voice cold. He told his assistant, Lynn, to come in and escort their guest out. But Lynn couldn't get in. He reported that the door's biometric scanner seemed to be malfunctioning. Liam tried the handle twice, only to be met with an automated voice declaring him an unauthorized user. Such were the perils of over-reliance on technology. Ethan secretly messaged his own assistant, promising him a raise. The real show was just beginning. He wouldn't be satisfied until he heard Liam admit defeat to the very pheromones he had labeled disgusting. He couldn't let the 3 powerful suppressant injections he'd taken go to waste. He approached Liam with a gentle, soothing tone, telling him not to worry and marveling at the veins standing out on his neck. Liam closed his eyes, ignoring him completely. He asked his assistant how long the repairs would take. The reply was uncertain. They were still diagnosing the problem. Liam gave him 5 minutes. The last words gritted out through clenched teeth, laced with a tremor he couldn't hide. His reaction was indeed fast and furious. It was time to add more fuel to the fire. Ethan ripped the suppressant patch off entirely. Liam's pupils dilated, his eyes quickly becoming bloodshot. He growled at him to stay away. Ethan feigned fear, then asked what his reward would be for obeying. Liam only gasped for breath, so Ethan sighed with mock disappointment. He was far more generous, he purred, pulling his own collar down and offering his neck. He asked if he wanted a bite, promising it would feel incredible. Liam's breathing hitched, becoming ragged and fast. The hot air ghosted across Ethan's skin, sending a strange, deep itch through his bones. He felt a wave of dizziness. Liam's chest was heaving. He fumbled with his phone, pulling up a digital check interface. He demanded Ethan name his price, the sound of his teeth grinding audible. It was the sound of desire. As an alpha, his every instinct screamed to bite, to mark, to possess. His body was on the verge of madness, but his will was still fighting a desperate rearguard action. Ethan wondered if he could maintain that control if he named an astronomical sum. Thanks to their arrangement, he knew the Sterling family finances intimately. When he spoke the number, Liam froze, his already dark expression turning venomous. He couldn't recall ever offending him. Ethan agreed that it was a lot of money, but pointed out that marking him was free. He taunted him, asking why he was suffering so much, why it was so hard to admit defeat. Liam interrupted, his voice strained. He could only give him half. The other half belonged to his partner, and he had no right to touch it. Ethan was stunned. Liam's fingers trembled as he keyed in the numbers, one by one. But he warned Ethan to think carefully. He had a lifetime to earn the money back, but Ethan wouldn't have his youth to enjoy it. Through the haze of lust in his eyes, there was a core of unyielding steel. Ethan understood the unspoken threat. Ruin, lawsuits, a slow and methodical destruction. His heart hammered against his ribs. He had pushed this too far. It was time to get out. A message from his assistant delivered the worst possible news. The bug couldn't be fixed. The biomonitor was going crazy. He woke to the familiar sight of his own bedroom ceiling. He lay dazed for a moment before turning his head to confirm he was home. His neck was fine, the gland unmarked, but his wrist throbbed with a fiery pain. His memory was fragmented. He could only recall bits and pieces. the suppressant failing, his own pheromones spiraling out of control, and then Liam tying him to a table leg with his tie. Then a loud crash as he faded into unconsciousness. The door must have been broken down. He couldn't believe how badly things had escalated. The thought of their next scheduled meeting at the family dinner made him want to suffocate himself with his pillow. As he was contemplating this, his phone rang. He fumbled for it blindly and answered. Liam's voice, raspy and deep, came through the speaker. He called him by his real name, Ethan Hawthorne. Ethan mumbled a response, his own voice hoarse. After a moment of silence, Liam asked with genuine concern what was wrong. Ethan, flustered, cleared his throat and said he was fine. The ensuing silence was heavy with unspoken words, making him nervous. He wondered if Liam had figured it out. He needed to confirm something, Liam said, pausing again. This was it, Ethan thought with a silent sigh. He braced himself, asking if he and his ex-boyfriend were forced to break up. At the same moment Ethan said yes, Liam asked if it was because of him. They both fell silent, stunned. Ethan cautiously asked which ex-boyfriend he was referring to. Liam clarified, wanting to know if his marriage to him had been forced on him by his family, a reluctant necessity. It was true that his family had pushed for it, and his breakup with Alex hadn't been amicable, but he sensed that wasn't Liam's real question. He asked why he was bringing it up now. Liam explained that the Omega who had harassed him last week had returned, this time using the name Alex Reed. It had caused him considerable trouble, so he'd hired a private investigator. He'd discovered that Alex was Ethan's ex-boyfriend and an alpha. Ethan tensed. Liam continued, laying out his theory. He wondered if he had been the one to break them up, and in retaliation, Alex had hired a highly compatible Omega to get revenge on him using his name. Ethan had to admit, Liam's imagination was impressive. He asked what he would do if that were the case. There was no immediate answer from the other end. Ethan figured a man with such a rigid moral compass would surely step aside to reunite true lovers. But then Liam spoke, his voice firm. He said he wouldn't let go. Ethan was shocked. What happened to the paragon of virtue? Liam elaborated that while he could compete for him fairly, his rival had resorted to underhanded tactics. He didn't believe such a person was a worthy partner for him. He acknowledged that their relationship was still new, but he promised to reduce his workload after his current project was finished and move in with him next month. He was actually serious. Realizing the misunderstanding was spiraling, Ethan quickly clarified. He explained that he was just joking earlier, that his breakup with Alex was due to infidelity, not because of him. The marriage had been unexpected, but he hadn't been coerced. He could almost hear the relief in Liam's sigh. The conversation should have ended there, but Liam didn't hang up. Ethan asked if there was anything else. After a long pause, Liam said he wanted to buy a pair of rings. He explained that the Omega had mocked him for not wearing one, for not looking married. Ethan was baffled. When had he ever mocked him? He had been complimenting him. It seemed Liam couldn't go a day without misrepresenting him. Liam then added, his voice soft and almost wounded, that it was fine if he didn't want to. A complex feeling washed over Ethan. He lifted his left hand, staring at the ring finger. A wedding band. Though it wasn't there yet, he could already imagine the sensation of it sliding over his knuckle, settling at the base of his finger. Felt strangely real. He agreed, saying he would send his measurements. The moment the words were out, he regretted it. Not because he'd agreed, but because he'd given Liam control over something so important. What if his taste was terrible? He immediately contacted a friend in jewelry design, asking for recommendations. His friend suggested they go to the store and try some on in person. offering to join him. It was a more efficient plan. After a quick visit from the family doctor to temporarily neutralize his pheromone levels, he headed to the address his friend had sent. He was shocked to find Liam already there, standing by the entrance. They stared at each other in silence. Before Liam could form an expression of disgust, Ethan quickly declared that he wasn't following him. Just then, his friend emerged from the store, throwing a friendly arm around Ethan's shoulder. He said he'd picked out a few styles and urged him to come see. Liam's gaze flickered between them, and the tension in his brow eased slightly. He asked if Ethan was also buying a ring. His friend, hearing this, turned and his eyes widened in surprise at Liam. He started to ask if they weren't. Ethan swiftly clapped a hand over his friend's mouth. The sudden movement exposed the faint red marks on his wrist. Liam's eyes darkened as he was clearly reminded of something he'd rather forget. He finally spoke, his voice low, asking if it still hurt. He admitted he might have tied the knot a bit too tight. His friend's eyes gleamed with scandalous curiosity. This was clearly not a conversation for him to hear. Ethan pushed him back into the store, telling him to start looking and that he'd be in shortly. When he turned back, Liam was still standing there, his face pale. He asked if he was all right. Liam massaged his temples and asked if Ethan's friend was a beta. Ethan nodded, confused. Liam put his hands in his coat pockets, his expression unreadable. He told Ethan to live a good life with his partner and to stop accepting jobs like this. He said he knew he must have been forced into it and that he wouldn't press charges. So, he still thought he was a hired gun employed by Alex for revenge. He had only cleared up the reason for his breakup, not this part of the misunderstanding. His friend poked his head out of the door, suggesting they come inside to talk, promising not to listen. Liam gave him a cool, dismissive glance and said he had to leave. He looked genuinely unwell. As Ethan stepped forward, concerned, Liam recoiled as if from a fire. He insisted he was fine, his desperation to get away painfully obvious. A sour, aching feeling bloomed in Ethan's chest. Did he hate him that much? He dropped his gaze to Liam's coat, noticing an unnatural bulge in the fabric. Took him a moment to realize what it meant. Liam was clenching his fists so tightly in his pockets, desperately trying to maintain control. His whole body was trembling slightly, and Ethan was the cause. He deliberately took a step back, watching as Liam's car merged with the city traffic and disappeared. His friend reappeared beside him, shaking a hand in front of his face. He remarked on how strange their dynamic was, asking if they were engaged in some kind of role-playing. Ethan, snapping out of his thoughts, asked what he'd said. His friend corrected himself, saying they seemed so formal, like strangers. He admitted he was afraid to say the wrong thing. He wasn't wrong. They were strangers. But what about the future? He couldn't wait for the family dinner. He needed to tell him the truth now. As if on cue, a call from Liam came through. His voice was strained, breathless. He asked, with evident difficulty, if he could have a piece of his clothing, something he had worn. He said he'd send his assistant to pick it up. Liam had been pushed into his rut by his pheromones. Ethan asked why he didn't just call him directly, reminding him that he was his partner. There was a pause. Liam seemed surprised by the suggestion, murmuring that he was worried he was busy. Ethan assured him he wasn't, waving goodbye to his friend and getting into his car. He asked for his address, saying he was on his way. The implication was clear. Liam's breathing became heavy and ragged over the phone. He stammered that he'd send it. Ethan was nervous too, but he knew this couldn't be delayed any longer. Their world didn't allow for true freedom, especially for an Omega. If not Liam, it would have been some other arranged marriage. Logically, Liam was the best possible choice. And emotionally, Ethan found him compelling, powerful, self-disciplined, exceptionally capable. He had a great body, and his breathless panting was incredibly sexy. The sounds coming through the phone were making it impossible to think straight. He knew Liam was in agony and tried to distract him, asking how he usually dealt with his ruts. Liam explained through labored breaths about hyperbaric chambers, pheromone extractions, and suppressant shots. He managed to say that lately, the suppressants hadn't been very effective. The sound of his panting vibrated through the phone, making Ethan's face flush. He stuttered that he was almost there. Liam replied that his butler would meet him, apologizing for the circumstances of their first real meeting. It wasn't their first meeting, but Liam was too out of it to process. By the time he asked when they had met before, Ethan was already stepping out of the car and into the penthouse lobby. Liam was propped up against the headboard, his coat discarded. 2 buttons of his shirt were undone, revealing a flush of red across his skin. He stared when he saw Ethan, quickly pulling the collar of his shirt closed. He demanded to know how he had followed him here. Him that his promise not to press charges was not an invitation to harass him. He called out for his butler, asking who had let him in. His words died in his throat. His eyes widened slowly, his thick lashes trembling. The butler was standing right behind Ethan. The alpha's rut-addled mind was already unstable, and now his chest heaved with a mixture of disbelief and an emotion Ethan couldn't face, but couldn't ignore: rage. He was furious. "Ethan," he snarled, "is this some kind of game to you?" Ethan promised he would explain later. He moved closer, reaching to help him out of his shirt and into something more comfortable, but his hand was slapped away. Liam asked if he was satisfied, pulling a syringe from his nightstand, his eyes like chips of ice. He said he'd been made a fool of. Ethan told him not to use it, reminding him it was ineffective. Liam told him to mind his own business. Ethan's temper flared. He demanded to know why he shouldn't be concerned, reminding him that he was his legal husband. Liam let out a bitter laugh. A legal husband who used a fake identity to humiliate his partner. He spat out the last words with venom. Ethan, illogically, found himself wondering how Liam was suddenly able to speak so clearly. Liam ignored him, uncapping the needle to inject himself. Ethan grabbed his wrist. Liam flinched violently, nearly jabbing Ethan with the needle. "Are you insane?" he yelled, instantly dropping the syringe and seizing Ethan's hand to inspect it. He told him that alpha-grade suppressants were not for him. The motion jostled the bruised marks on his wrist, and Ethan couldn't help but let out a small whimper of pain. Liam recoiled as if he'd been burned. He called for the butler, his voice tight with suppressed fury, and ordered him to take Mr. Hawthorne home. The formal address felt like a death sentence. The butler looked helplessly between them. Liam was losing control. Ethan asked if he knew what he was doing, if sending his partner away during his rut meant he wanted to dissolve their contract. Liam's body tensed, his gaze flickering before he turned away stiffly. He muttered that since they had never consummated the relationship and their business partnership was not yet deeply integrated, it was possible to terminate the agreement. That was the last straw for Ethan. His voice rose as he yelled that it wasn't something Liam could just decide on a whim. He raged that this whole mess was his fault, for his careless words about bloodhound noses and disgusting pheromones. He asked if Liam had considered his feelings at all when he was spouting that nonsense. Liam was silent. He opened his mouth to speak several times, but nothing came out. Ethan furiously sent a voice message to his assistant, telling him to pack and send over 2 weeks' worth of his clothes. He was moving in. He declared coolly that since Liam was planning to move in with him next month anyway, he was just getting a head start on acclimating to cohabitation. With the contract still in effect, Liam could not legally refuse him. The butler, seizing the opportunity, quickly had a room prepared, smiling as he pointed to a connecting door. He informed Ethan that the door could be opened. Ethan tried the handle and saw Liam's bed on the other side. Perfect. Liam coldly ordered the door to be sealed. No one listened to him. Later that evening, after a shower, Ethan wrapped himself in a robe and went to find him. He looked terrible, his breathing heavy and sincere. He demanded they bring back his suppressants. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, telling him that any more injections would cause permanent damage. Liam turned his head away, his voice hard as he said he didn't need his concern. Ethan retorted that of course he had to be concerned. What would he do if Liam ruined himself? Become a widower? The pheromone neutralizer the doctor had given him was still working, but he knew that if he stayed here much longer, it was only a matter of time before he lost control too. What happened next could either deepen their connection or destroy it completely. Some things had to be done while they were both still lucid. He climbed onto the bed and straddled him. Liam looked utterly shocked, reflexively trying to push him off his waist. Ethan planted his hands firmly on his chest. He told him to be reasonable. The root cause of all of this was his failure to recognize him. He asked if it was because Liam trusted him too much, or if he simply didn't care who he married. Liam looked down, his lips pressed into a thin line. It wasn't that, he muttered. He cared. Then, Ethan pressed. Was it because his family was so incompetent they couldn't even find a single photo of him? That wasn't it either. Then why? Ethan felt his own blood pressure rising. The reason had to be truly humiliating for him to be so evasive. He fought the urge to strangle him. Just as he reached the breaking point, Liam finally spoke. He said that rather than forming a preconceived notion from a file, he wanted to get to know him for himself. The answer was so unexpected it disarmed Ethan. He leaned down slightly, looking into his eyes, and asked what impression he had formed on his own. Liam remained silent, his body temperature steadily climbing. Ethan prodded his abs, urging him to answer. Finally, 2 words escaped his lips. A liar. Ethan blinked, then laughed. He admitted he had lied to him once. But what about him? He mimicked Liam's earlier pompous tone, repeating his claim that his relationship with his husband was very good. And here he was trying to kick that very husband out of his bed. He noted that Liam didn't even seem to feel guilty when he lied. Liam was silent for a long moment, and Ethan expected some kind of comeback. Instead, he just apologized, admitting it had been the most effective way to get rid of the people flocking to him. His voice was low, his apology sincere. Ethan's anger deflated. He declared them even, saying he wasn't an unreasonable person. It was time for a fresh start. As he spoke, Liam grabbed his waist and began to physically move him off the bed. His strength was immense. "I'm near my limit," he gasped, his eyes red. He pleaded with him to go back to his room. So much for his heartfelt speech. He was being pushed toward the connecting door. As Liam reached for the handle, Ethan grabbed it first. He told Liam to think carefully. He was near his limit too, both physically and emotionally. If he pushed him out that door, he would have annulment papers drawn up by morning. The sound of heavy breathing behind him was a constant, maddening presence. He told Liam, his own voice shaky, that if he had any sense of duty as his partner, he would mark him. Liam's reply was a muffled, almost inaudible sound. took a moment for Ethan to decipher it. Don't. His heart went cold. Don't. He had never been so humiliated in his life. He struggled against Liam's weight, his back aching. If you don't want to, then get off me, he snarled, using the last of his strength. He failed to break free, but he did manage to wrestle his way out of his robe. He was suddenly naked. As he tried to grab the robe from the floor, a large hand clamped down on both of his wrists, pinning them above his head. A searing heat traveled over his skin, slow and inexorable, until it stopped at the gland on his neck. Don't terminate the contract, Liam breathed against his skin. He realized then that the door had been meant to protect him. Liam was knocking on the door again. Ethan clutched the sheets around himself in indignation, yelling at him to just take a suppressant. Of course, the door's protective function was now entirely moot. I can't, sweetheart, Liam said, easily opening the door and pulling him out from his cocoon of blankets. The intense scent of leather enveloped him instantly. After being marked by Liam, his pollen allergies had vanished, and he could now smell pheromones clearly. He found he preferred being congested. He told him his scent was disgusting. Disgusting, Liam agreed, unconcerned, promising it wouldn't be for long. His back ached. Liam shifted their position. Then his knees hurt. Liam shifted again. He couldn't stand. Liam wrapped an arm around his waist, his breath warm against his ear. He asked if the person who had called last night was Alex. Ethan froze. He thought Liam had been asleep. Alex, after being unceremoniously dumped by the younger student he'd left Ethan for, had found his own career and family fortunes in a nosedive, as if targeted by an unseen force. His family was now considering backing his younger brother instead. A desperate Alex had found Ethan's number and called him, weeping with regret. Ethan, basking in the afterglow of their night, had found a certain schadenfreude in his ex's misery and had listened to him cry for a full half-hour. Liam's voice was dangerously smooth. You're so popular, darling. An alpha X who still pines for you. A beta friend who comes at a moment's notice. Unlike me, I only have you. He was a master manipulator. This was a truth Ethan would come to realize over the next 2 years. A goodnight kiss every night? Liam's voice was loud with feigned surprise, directed at the newlywed couple they were negotiating with. The couple was disgustingly affectionate. When Ethan didn't respond, Liam sighed dramatically. Of course, the kiss itself doesn't matter. As long as Ethan is sleeping beside me, I sleep perfectly well, even without one. Ethan expressionlessly pushed the contract proposal back across the table. He congratulated them on their partnership and suggested they spread the good fortune by raising his profit margin to 10%. Later that night, Liam was still subtly dropping hints. Ethan shot him a cold look, and he immediately fell silent, sitting quietly beside him as he worked. It was a calculated retreat, a feigned submission to win favor. He saw right through him. He felt a sudden chill. Liam tugged at his collar, which was slipping down his arm. Ethan glanced at his toned, smooth chest and told him to go to bed if he was cold. The bed is colder without my husband in it, Liam murmured. Ethan relented, promising to be there after he finished the page. After their lengthy bedtime routine, he leaned over and gave him a quick peck on the lips. Good night. 1 second passed. 2. Liam didn't move. He had gone still. Ethan opened his eyes and met his intense, dark gaze. He felt a jolt in his stomach. This was bad. Darling, Liam whispered, it's impossible to have a good night now. Liam's parents had a storybook marriage, still as passionate after decades as they were on their honeymoon. Growing up, he had always yearned for a similar bond. He had no husband, only a co-conspirator. But then, he did have a husband. On the day of Ethan's graduation, Liam had cleared his schedule and flown out. They never met. He only saw his silhouette from outside a private room. Ethan seemed to have had too much to drink, leaning on someone's shoulder and sobbing about his miserable fate, being thrown from academia into the tomb of marriage. He'd wailed for that bastard Liam Sterling to be sensible and stay out of his way so he could focus on his career. Liam stood outside the door for a while, then left the bouquet he'd brought and walked away without disturbing him. He was obedient. He stayed out of Ethan's life but watched his career from afar. He heard how he beat out numerous alphas to win a major contract. He heard how his new company shot into the city's top 10. He was so brilliant. He was, after all, his husband. He had lied to Ethan. He had investigated him and obtained a photo. But he never opened the file. It wasn't for the noble reason he had claimed. He knew himself too well. If his fantasies had a face, he would undoubtedly print out the picture and, well, Liam often felt a pang of injustice. Why couldn't he have an intimate marriage like his parents? That sense of grievance had peaked when that Omega, his husband, had walked into his life. He didn't want to continue like this. He wanted his husband.